Hello everyone, in this video we are going to learn about hypothalamus. Hypothalamus is a part of diencephalon and it lies in the floor. You can see the diagram here. This is the floor of the third ventricle, right, and the lateral wall, right, lateral wall and the floor of the third ventricle. So it lies in the floor and the lateral wall of the third ventricle. It has been designated as the head ganglion of the autonomic nervous system because it takes part in control of many visceral and metabolic activities of the body, right? It serves a very important function in our body that we will see later on. Anatomically, it includes the floor of the third ventricle or the structures in the interpedunculaire fossa, means the structures they are talking about, and the lateral wall of the third ventricle below the hypothalamic sulcus, right? This will be the lateral wall of the third ventricle. Now, as seen on the base of the brain, the hypothalamus is bounded anteriorly by the posterior perforated substance, right, that you can see here, and on each side by the optic tract. In this diagram you can see this is the hypothalamus, right? This is the optic tract that you can see here, and this is the crus cerebri. Okay, so on each side it is bounded by the optic tract and the crus cerebri. This is optic tract and the crus cerebri, and here you can see the mammillary bodies are shown, right? That is the relation on the base of the brain. Now if you see it in the sagittal section, again coming back to the first diagram here, in the sagittal section of the brain, it is bounded anteriorly by the lamina terminalis, this is lamina terminalis, and inferiorly by the floor of the third ventricle. This is the floor of the third ventricle, that is from the optic chiasma up to the posterior perforated substance, okay, and posterior-superiorly by the hypothalamic sulcus. Okay, so these are the boundaries in the sagittal section of the brain. Next is the parts of the hypothalamus. Now, as we have done in the thalamus, it is full of nuclei. Similarly, hypothalamus also constitutes many nuclei, but before that it is divided into three parts: optic, tuberal and mammillary parts, right? Here you can see in this diagram, you can see anteriorly this is the optic area, this is the tuberal part, and last is the mammillary part. Above the mammillary body is the mammillary part, right? We will see the nuclei in one more diagram for easy understanding. This. Okay. Now here you can see in the first, that is optic part, you can see first nuclei is the pre-optic nuclei and the supraoptic nucleus, right? Pre-optic nucleus you can see here, and this is the supraoptic nucleus. Second is the paraventricular nucleus. This paraventricular nucleus, that is just above the supraoptic, and lateral nucleus in the lateral zone. Then tuberal parts. In the tuberal part you will find this ventromedial nucleus and dorsomedial nucleus, and the fifth is the tuberal nucleus lateral to the ventromedial nucleus, that is not shown in this diagram. Then the last is the mammillary part. It constitutes the posterior nucleus, right? This is the posterior hypothalamic nucleus that you can see here, that is caudal to the ventromedial and dorsomedial nuclei and mammillary nucleus. Lateral nucleus lateral to the posterior nucleus, right? Lateral nucleus is not shown in this diagram. For that we will see one more diagram here. In this area, this all are the again nuclei of the hypothalamus, and but here you can see the lateral hypothalamic area is shown, where you will find the nuclei like lateral nucleus and the tuberal nucleus, right? They are present in this area. Okay. Now, out of all these nuclei, the nuclei 3, 4 and 6, that is medial, they are separated from the nuclei 5 and 7 by some fibers, right? Now, in this diagram, you will be able to see this all are the nuclei of the hypothalamus. The nuclei 3, 4 and 6, that is ventromedial, dorsomedial nuclei and the posterior nuclei, they are separated from the nuclei 5 and 7, means tuberal and lateral nucleus by the column of the fornix. Here you can see the posterior commissural fibers of the fornix are shown, right? This is separating. Second is the mammillothalamic tract. You can see that is passing by here. And the third, that is not shown in the diagram, is the fasciculus retroflexus. Okay. Now these three tracts, they will separate this nuclei. Okay. Next is the important connections of the hypothalamus. Afferent connections. The hypothalamus receives visceral sensations through the spinal cord and the brainstem. That is reticular formation. It is also connected to the several centers associated with the olfactory pathways, including the piriform cortex, the cerebellum and the retina. Efferents. Supraoptic hypophyseal tract from the optic nuclei to the pars posterior, pars tubralis and the pars intermedia of the hypophysis cerebri, that is pituitary gland. Mammillothalamic tract, that you can already see in the diagram, and another is the mammillotegmental tract, that is the periventricular system of the fibers. These are the connections. Next is the very important part, that is the functions of the hypothalamus. The hypothalamus is a complex neuroglandular mechanism concerned with the regulation of the visceral and the vasomotor activities of the body. Right. Now, in this diagram, previous diagram that we have seen with the nuclei, see each nuclei here, in the bracket there is written something, right? They are the different functions of the nuclei, right? So, one by one we will take. First is the endocrine control. By forming the releasing hormones or the release inhibiting hormones, the hypothalamus regulates secretion of the thyrotropin, corticotropin, somatotropin, prolactin, luteinizing hormone, follicle stimulating hormone, melanocyte stimulating hormone by the pars anterior of the hypophysis cerebri. Second is the neurosecretion. Oxytocin and the vasopressin, that is antidiuretic hormone, are secreted by the hypothalamus and transported to the infundibulum and the posterior lobe of the hypophysis cerebri. Okay, now here you can see in the here is the pituitary gland, right, and this is the area of the hypothalamus, right? So this all endocrine function, it is related here. In detail, this is another diagram of the nuclei with the functions in detail they have given, right? Now here you can see ADH and oxytocin, right, produces. So this is done by the paraventricular and the supraoptic nuclei. Next is the general autonomic effect. The anterior parts of the hypothalamus chiefly mediate the parasympathetic activity, and the posterior parts, they chiefly mediate the sympathetic activity, right? Anterior parts parasympathetic activity and posterior sympathetic activities. But the effects often overlap. Thus, the hypothalamus controls cardiovascular, respiratory and alimentary functions. One another very important function is the temperature regulation. It maintains a balance between the heat production and the heat loss of the body. Raised body temperature is decreased through vasodilatation, sweating, panting and reduced heat production. Lowered body temperature is elevated by shivering and in prolonged cases by the hyperactivity of the thyroid. Next is regulation of the food and water intake. The hunger or the feeding center, it is placed laterally and the satiety center is placed medially. Okay, here you can see ventromedial nucleus showing the satiety center, right? And you can see here the lateral nucleus, it is showing the stimulation inducing eating, right? So this centers, stimulation of the feeding center or damage of the satiety centers, it causes hyperphagia, that is overeating, which will lead to obesity. And stimulation of the satiety center or the damage of the feeding center causes hypophagia or even aphagia and death from starvation. Next, the thirst or the drinking center, it is situated in the lateral part of the hypothalamus. Its stimulation causes copious drinking and overhydration. Next function is related to the sexual behavior and reproduction. Through its control of the anterior pituitary, the hypothalamus controls gametogenesis, various reproductive cycles like uterine and ovarian, and the maturation and maintenance of the secondary sexual characteristics. Through its connections with the limbic system, it participates in the elementary drives associated with the food and sex. Next, biological clock. Many tissues and organ systems of the body show a cyclic variation in the functional activity during the 24 hours of the day, that is called as the circadian rhythm, right? This we have also talked about along with the pineal gland. Now, sleep and wakefulness is an outstanding example of the circadian rhythm, right? At specific times you will feel asleep, and even if you don't keep your alarm to wake up in the morning, but after certain time you will wake up by yourself, right? So this is an outstanding example of the circadian rhythm, you can say. Wakefulness is maintained by the reticular activating system. Sleep is produced by the hypogenic zones, mainly of the thalamus and the hypothalamus, and partly by the brainstem. Lesions of the anterior hypothalamus seriously disturbs the rhythm of the sleep and wakefulness. Next is the emotion, fear, rage. Rage means anger, aversion, pleasure and reward. These faculties, these all emotions, they are controlled by the hypothalamus, the limbic system and the prefrontal cortex, right? Prefrontal cortex we had discussed, it is related to the negative and the positive emotions, right? Next, the last part is the clinical anatomy of the hypothalamus. In the clinical anatomy, you can see the lesions of the hypothalamus will give rise to one of the following syndromes, right? Now we have already seen the different functions, all these different functions we have seen. So if any nuclei or any particular part is damaged, so there will be disturbance of that particular function, that is the applied anatomy, right? Now first is the obesity. In obesity it may lead to the Froelich syndrome or the Lawrence-Moon-Biddle syndrome. Then second is the diabetes insipidus, right? If the ADH production is disturbed, then there will be diabetes insipidus. Then next is diencephalic autonomic epilepsy, right? In this, it is characterized by flushing, sweating, salivation, lacrimation, tachycardia, retardation of the respiratory rate, unconsciousness, etc. Next is the sexual disturbances. In that, it may lead to either precocity or impotency. Okay, precocity means appearance of the secondary sexual characteristics before the lower limit of the normal age for the pubertal onset. Then next is the disturbance of the sleep. First is the somnolence, that is persistent sleep, right? Patient will sleep for the whole day. And another is the narcolepsy, that is called as the paroxysmal sleep. Narcolepsy is a condition that is characterized by an extreme tendency to fall asleep whenever in the relaxed surroundings, right? Whenever patient feels relaxed, he will sleep. Then next is hyperglycemia and glycosuria, again related to diabetes. Then next is acute ulcerations in the upper part of the GI tract, right? If that hunger and satiety centers are disturbed. Okay, so that is all about the applied anatomy of the hypothalamus. Okay, bye.